If you think you've had a bad week, try being stranded in the middle of the Pacific Ocean for 47 days with nothing but a couple of chocolate bars and two other guys who are just as terrified as you are. Oh, and did I mention sharks circling your raft every single night? This is the story of Louis Zamperini, Olympic runner, Army Air Forces bombardier, and one of the most incredible survivors in World War II history. His B-24 Liberator went down in the ocean thousands of miles from land. What happened next would push him to the absolute limit of human endurance. And just when you think his story couldn't get any worse, it does. Because surviving the ocean was only the beginning. May 27, 1943. Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, 8,000 feet above the water, Louis Zamperini sits in the nose of a B-24 Liberator bomber called Green Hornet. He's the bombardier, which means he's responsible for dropping bombs on target during missions. But today isn't a combat mission. It's supposed to be a simple search and rescue operation. Another plane went down somewhere in the ocean, and they're supposed to go find it. Simple, easy, routine. Except the Green Hornet is a piece of junk. Everyone knows it. The plane has been having mechanical problems for weeks. The engines misfire constantly. The crew calls it the flying coffin because they all know it's going to kill someone eventually. When Louis and his crew were assigned to fly it that morning, they looked at each other with that same expression. The one that says, "We might not be coming back from this." The plane carries 11 men total. Louis is 26 years old. Just a few years earlier, he was running in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. He was fast, really fast. So fast that after the race, Adolf Hitler himself asked to meet him. Now here he is, thousands of miles from home, sitting in a dying airplane over an ocean so massive that if you go down, nobody will ever find you. The pilot's name is Clarence Corpening. Good guy, experienced. But even good pilots can't save a plane that doesn't want to fly, and today the Green Hornet definitely doesn't want to fly. They've been in the air for a few hours, searching the empty ocean for any sign of the downed plane. Nothing but blue water in every direction. The sun is bright. The sky is clear. It's actually a beautiful day, which makes what's about to happen even more insane. Then it happens. The left engine starts coughing, sputtering. Louis feels it before he hears it. That sinking feeling in your stomach when you know something is very, very wrong. The engine isn't just misfiring anymore. It's dying. And when an engine dies on a B-24, you've got maybe seconds to figure out what to do next. The pilot tries to compensate. He pushes the controls, tries to keep the plane level, but the Green Hornet is already tilting, falling. The right engine is screaming now, trying to do the work of two engines, but it's not enough. The plane is dropping fast, too fast. Louis looks out the window and sees the ocean rushing up toward them. They're going down. There's no stopping it now. The pilot shouts over the intercom, "Brace for impact." That's all he has time to say. Brace for impact. Like that's going to help when you hit the water at 150 miles per hour. The nose of the plane hits first. Louis is right there in the front. The impact is unbelievable. It's like hitting concrete. The entire front section of the plane crumples like paper. Metal tears, glass shatters. Water explodes through every opening. The noise is so loud that for a second, Louis can't hear anything at all. Just this high-pitched ringing in his ears. The plane doesn't float, not even for a second. The Green Hornet goes straight down, sinking fast, dragging everyone with it. Louis is underwater before he even realizes what happened. The ocean is dark and cold and everywhere. He can't tell which way is up. His lungs are burning. He needs air. Now. He kicks, claws at the water. His hand hits something metal, part of the plane. He pushes off it, desperate, swimming toward what he hopes is the surface. His vision is starting to go black around the edges. His chest feels like it's going to explode. Just a little farther, just a little more. Then his head breaks the surface and he gasps. Air, sweet, beautiful air. He's alive, for now. He looks around. Debris everywhere, pieces of the Green Hornet floating on the surface, fuel spreading across the water in a rainbow slick, and bodies, some of them moving, some of them not. He spots two other men, Phil, the pilot, and Mac, the tail gunner. They're both struggling in the water, coughing, trying to stay afloat. Out of 11 men on that plane, only 3 of them made it out. 8 men gone in an instant, just like that. They find 2 life rafts floating nearby. Small yellow rafts, the kind that inflate automatically when you pull them out of the plane. Each raft is maybe 6 feet long and 2 feet wide. Barely big enough for one person, let alone 3. But they're all they've got. Louis, Phil, and Mac pull themselves into the rafts. They're exhausted, in shock, soaking wet, and only now, sitting in these tiny rubber rafts in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, do they start to realize just how bad their situation really is. They're hundreds of miles from the nearest island, maybe thousands. Nobody knows exactly where they are because they were off course when the plane went down. The search and rescue operation they were supposed to be doing. Now they're the ones who need to be rescued, and the chances of anyone finding them out here are basically 0. The first day is the worst, not because of hunger or thirst. Those come later. The first day is the worst because that's when reality sets in. That's when you realize you might actually die out here. They take inventory, see what they have to work with. The life rafts came with emergency supplies, which sounds good until you see what those supplies actually are. A couple of chocolate bars, a few tins of water, some fishing hooks, a couple of flares, a mirror for signaling, that's it. That's all they have to survive on until someone finds them. Phil does the math in his head. If they ration everything perfectly, the chocolate and water might last them 3 days. Maybe 4 if they really stretch it. After that, they're on their own. They'll have to figure out how to catch fish, how to collect rainwater, how to not go insane from dehydration and starvation. 3 days turns into 4. 4 turns into a week. Nobody comes. No planes, no ships, nothing. Just endless blue water in every direction. The sun is brutal. During the day, it beats down on them with no shade, no protection. Their skin starts to burn, then blister, then crack and peel. Salt water gets into the wounds and stings like nothing Louis has ever felt before. At night, it's the opposite problem. The temperature drops and they're freezing, shivering in their wet clothes, trying to huddle together for warmth in these tiny rafts. But the worst part isn't the sun or the cold, it's the thirst. Your body needs water to survive. Out here, surrounded by millions of gallons of water, they can't drink a single drop of it. Seawater will kill you faster than no water at all. It dehydrates you, shuts down your kidneys, drives you insane. They try to catch rainwater when it rains, holding up pieces of canvas and funneling whatever they can collect into their mouths. Sometimes they get lucky and catch enough to fill one of the empty tins. Sometimes it doesn't rain for days, and they sit there with their tongues swollen and their lips cracked, fantasizing about water fountains and cold glasses of lemonade. The hunger is almost as bad. The chocolate bars are long gone. Now they're trying to catch fish with the hooks from the emergency kit. Sounds easy, right? Just drop a hook in the water and wait for a fish to bite. Except they don't have bait. They don't have a fishing rod. They're just sitting there with a hook tied to a piece of string, dangling it in the water and hoping something bites. Sometimes they get lucky. A small fish will come close enough to grab. Louis learns to catch them with his bare hands. He'll spot one near the surface, wait until it's close, then lunge and grab it before it can swim away. It's harder than it sounds. Fish are fast and slippery, but when you're starving, you learn fast. They eat the fish raw. No fire, no cooking. Just bite into it and chew. The taste is awful, slimy and fishy, and sometimes the fish is still moving when they bite into it, but it keeps them alive. Barely. Then there are the sharks, because of course there are sharks. This is the Pacific Ocean during World War II. There are sharks everywhere, big ones. Louis sees them circling the rafts at night, their fins cutting through the water, their shadows passing underneath. Sometimes they bump the raft, just testing it, seeing if it's food. One night, a shark attacks, just launches itself out of the water and tries to bite the raft. Louis and Phil beat it with their oars, smacking it over and over until it finally gives up and swims away. But the raft is damaged now, punctured. They have to patch it with the emergency repair kit, working fast before the whole thing deflates and dumps them in the water with the sharks. Mac isn't handling it well. He's the youngest of the three. He's scared, panicking. On the second day, when Louis and Phil were sleeping, Mac ate all the chocolate, just ate it, all of it. Their only real food supply gone in one night because Mac couldn't control himself. Louis and Phil are furious, but what can they do? The chocolate is already gone. Yelling at Mac won't bring it back. After that, Mac just kind of shuts down, stops talking, stops helping, just lies there in the raft staring at the sky. Louis and Phil try to keep his spirits up, but it's hard to stay positive when you're starving and dehydrated and you haven't seen another human being in 3 weeks. The Japanese planes come on day 27. Louis hears them before he sees them, that distant buzz of engines. At first, he thinks he's hallucinating, his mind playing tricks on him, but then Phil hears it too. They both look up and see 2 Japanese bombers flying low over the water. For just a second, Louis feels hope. Finally, someone found them, they're going to be rescued. He grabs the flare gun from the emergency kit, ready to fire it into the sky, but Phil stops him, grabs his arm. "Those are Japanese planes," he says. "Enemy planes. If they see us, they're not going to rescue us. They're going to kill us." And that's exactly what they try to do. The planes circle back and open fire. Machine gun bullets hit the water all around them. Louis and Phil throw themselves into the ocean, diving deep, trying to get away from the bullets. They can hear them hitting the water above them. Thunk, 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 deadly even underwater. When they finally surface, the planes are gone, but the rafts are destroyed. Bullet holes everywhere. They spend the next hour patching them again, working desperately to keep them from sinking. Day 33. Mac dies, just stops breathing in the middle of the night. His body couldn't take it anymore. Starvation, dehydration, exposure, it all caught up with him. Louis and Phil hold a brief service, say a few words. Then they slide his body into the water and watch it sink. There's nothing else they can do. They can't keep him in the raft. It's hard enough with 2 people, impossible with 3. So Mac goes into the ocean and Louis and Phil keep drifting. The days blur together after that. 40 days, 45 days, they stop counting after a while. What's the point? Time doesn't mean anything out here. There's only now, only this moment, trying to catch another fish, trying to collect another drop of rain, trying to survive one more day. Louis talks to Phil to stay sane. They tell each other stories, talk about their families, their childhoods, anything to keep their minds working. Because out here, if you let your mind go, you're done. You'll just give up and die like Mac did. They make promises to each other. "If we survive this," Phil says, "I'm going to eat the biggest steak I can find. I'm going to drink a whole gallon of water in one sitting. I'm going to never complain about anything ever again." Louis agrees. "If we make it home," he says, "I'm going to appreciate every single day. I'm going to live my life like it matters. Because out here, you realize how fragile everything is, how quickly it can all be taken away." Day 47. They see land. An island. After 47 days on the ocean, they finally drift close enough to an island to see it. Louis and Phil can barely believe it. They're so weak they can hardly paddle, but they use every last bit of strength they have to steer the raft toward shore. The island is part of the Marshall Islands, Japanese territory, but Louis and Phil don't care. They've been on the ocean for 47 days. 47 days. They'll take their chances with the Japanese if it means getting off this raft and onto solid ground. They wash up on the beach and collapse. For a few minutes they just lie there on the sand, too exhausted to move. Louis tries to stand, but his legs won't work. He hasn't walked in over a month. His muscles have atrophied. He's lost almost half his body weight. Phil is in even worse shape, but they're alive. Against all odds, they survived. That's when the Japanese soldiers find them. A patrol boat was circling the island and spotted them on the beach. Within minutes, Louis and Phil are surrounded by soldiers with rifles pointed at their heads. They're prisoners now, enemy combatants. The Japanese soldiers tie their hands behind their backs and drag them onto the boat. Louis should feel relieved. He's been rescued. He's not going to die on that raft. But looking at the faces of these soldiers, he realizes something terrifying. His nightmare isn't over. It's just beginning. The Japanese take them to a small island base first. They're thrown into a cell. No food, no water, just a concrete floor and a bucket in the corner. Louis is so weak he can barely sit up. His body is shutting down. He needs medical attention. He needs food and water. But the Japanese don't care. As far as they're concerned, Louis and Phil aren't human. They're the enemy. And the enemy doesn't deserve mercy. They're interrogated. The Japanese want information. Where did you come from? What was your mission? How many planes does America have? Louis doesn't tell them anything. Not because he's trying to be brave. He just doesn't have any useful information. He was a bombardier on a search and rescue mission. He doesn't know anything about military strategy or plane numbers, but the Japanese don't believe him. They think he's lying, so they beat him, over and over, trying to get him to talk. After a few weeks, they're transferred to a bigger prison camp, a place called Afuna. This is where the Japanese send special prisoners, pilots, officers, anyone they think might have valuable intelligence. The conditions are even worse than the island base. The prisoners are kept in tiny cells, fed once a day, a bowl of watery rice, maybe a piece of fish if they're lucky. It's not enough to live on, just enough to keep you from dying too quickly. Louis meets other prisoners at Afuna, American pilots who were shot down. Some of them have been there for years. They tell him the rules: keep your head down, don't make eye contact with the guards, do what they say when they say it or they'll beat you, maybe kill you. The guards here don't follow the Geneva Convention. As far as they're concerned, prisoners have no rights. You're lower than dirt, lower than animals. There's one guard in particular who takes a special interest in Louis. The prisoners call him the Bird. His real name is Matsuhiro Watanabe. He's a corporal in the Japanese army, not a high rank. But at Afuna he has absolute power over the prisoners. And he uses that power to torture them, not for information, not for any military purpose, just because he can, just because he enjoys it. The Bird is obsessed with Louis. Maybe because Louis was an Olympic athlete. Maybe because he survived 47 days at sea and the Bird wants to break him. Whatever the reason, the Bird makes Louis's life a living hell. He singles him out every day, makes him stand at attention for hours in the hot sun, beats him with a bamboo stick, forces him to do exercises until he collapses. And if Louis shows any sign of weakness, any sign that he's breaking, the Bird beats him harder. One time the Bird makes Louis hold a heavy wooden beam above his head. It weighs maybe 50 pounds. Doesn't sound like much, but try holding 50 pounds above your head for 5 minutes. Now try it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Louis stands there, arms shaking, sweat pouring down his face, holding this beam while the Bird watches and smiles. When Louis's arms finally give out and the beam falls, the Bird beats him unconscious. This goes on for months, then a year. Then 2 years. Every day is a battle to survive, to not give up, to not let the Bird break him. Louis sees other prisoners break. He watches men give up and die, just lose the will to keep fighting and fade away. But Louis refuses. He survived 47 days on the ocean. He's not going to die in this camp. Not like this. He thinks about home, about his family, his mother, his brother, his friends. He wonders if they think he's dead. The military probably told them his plane went down and he was killed in action. They've probably already had a funeral for him, put his name on a headstone, moved on with their lives. But Louis is still here, still fighting, still surviving. The other prisoners help each other as much as they can. They share food when they can steal extra. They whisper encouragement when the guards aren't looking. They remind each other why they need to keep going. Because if they give up, if they let these guards break them, then the Japanese win. And Louis refuses to let that happen. In the summer of 1945, something changes. The guards become nervous. agitated. The prisoners can sense it. Something big is happening outside the camp. They don't know what. They don't have access to news or information, but they can tell the war is turning. Maybe Japan is losing. Maybe America is winning. They hold on to that hope. Just a little longer. Just survive a little longer and maybe they'll get to go home. Then one day the guards are gone, just gone. The prisoners wake up and the camp is empty. No guards, no officers, nobody. For a few hours they just sit there confused. Is this a trick? Are the guards testing them? But slowly they realize the truth. The war is over. Japan surrendered. They're free. American forces arrive a few days later. They find Louis and the other prisoners barely alive. Skeletons with skin, covered in lice and sores and scars. Louis weighs 97 pounds. He weighed 160 before the war. He's lost more than a third of his body weight. He can barely walk, but he's alive. After everything, after the crash, after 47 days at sea, after 2 years as a prisoner of war, he's alive. They put Louis on a hospital ship and send him back to America. The journey takes weeks. He spends most of it sleeping, eating, trying to regain his strength. The doctors tell him he's lucky to be alive. Most men don't survive what he went through. The starvation alone should have killed him. The dehydration, the beatings, the psychological torture, any one of those things could have been enough. But Louis survived all of it. When he finally arrives in America, his family is waiting. They thought he was dead. For 2 years they thought he was dead. His mother never gave up hope, but everyone else assumed he was gone. And now here he is, walking off that ship, thin and scarred and damaged, but alive. His mother hugs him and cries. His brother can't believe it's really him. It's like seeing a ghost. But coming home doesn't fix everything. Louis struggles. He has nightmares, flashbacks. He wakes up in the middle of the night thinking he's back on the raft, or back in the prison camp, or being beaten by the bird. He drinks to numb the pain, pushes away the people who love him, can't hold down a job, can't focus on anything. The war is over, but for Louis, it never really ended. It takes years for him to find peace. He eventually finds faith, forgiveness. He even travels back to Japan decades later to meet with his former captors, to tell them he forgives them. Some people think he's crazy for doing that. How can you forgive someone who tortured you for 2 years? But for Louis, forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing himself, letting go of the anger and the hate that's been eating him alive since the war ended. Louis Zamperini lived to be 97 years old. He spent his later years giving speeches, telling his story, inspiring people. He wanted everyone to know that no matter how bad things get, no matter how hopeless everything seems, you can survive. You can overcome. You just have to refuse to give up. Refuse to let the darkness win. 47 days at sea. 2 years as a prisoner of war. Beaten, starved, tortured. Most men wouldn't have survived a week of what Louis went through, but he survived all of it. And when he finally came home, he didn't let the trauma destroy him. He found a way to keep living, to keep moving forward, to find meaning in the suffering. That's the real story of Louis Zamperini. Not just that he survived, but that he refused to let survival be the end of his story. He took everything the world threw at him and turned it into something bigger, something that mattered. He became proof that the human spirit is stronger than anything, stronger than the ocean, stronger than bullets and bombs, stronger than hate and cruelty and pain. As long as you refuse to quit, you can survive anything. Subscribe if you want more stories like this.